something about you is that you don't work on Fridays.
Yes, I don't work on Fridays.
How did you even get to that? Because I'm like, that's such a fun thing to do. You don't work on Fridays. And everyone knows.
Yeah.
Danielle doesn't work on Fridays.
Everyone knows, yeah. And it was only because of that blessing of COVID, blessing in disguise of COVID and curfew and, quarantine and all these things that were happening, that I started to re-look at or deeply look at how I was running my business, how I was spending my time, how I was not honoring any boundaries, how I didn't have any boundaries. And so I decided to start implementing small things. So the first thing that I said to myself is, I'm no longer going to work after 7 p.m. Once I got used to that boundary is when I started to implement the thing around emails. I also started to track my time religiously in 2020. And by that, I mean, like, every time I was doing a task, I was clocking it on an app called Clockify. And it allowed me to see, one, how my focus was all over the place, and therefore I was wasting time. And two, what I was actually spending my time on and if they were the right tasks for my business. I was then able to say, okay, what other boundaries do I need? So the next one was then no work on the weekends. I stopped doing work on Saturdays and Sundays. There's no need to do work on Saturdays and Sundays anymore. And then eventually it also became, I don't need to work 5 days a week. I can do all of my work within 4 days, and I can just stop working on Fridays. Because, what tends to happen, especially now with a kid, and thank God I did all this stuff before having a child, because
Hi guys, welcome back to the Rev podcast. I am your host Rachel Lanita, kama kawaida. Have you been called to business and you really don't know how to run things? Like, you've tried and things are just not working out for you. Today here with me is Danielle Anderson, founder of Step and Stone. She is a wonderful woman, a mother, a businesswoman, and at the heart of it, you're a business strategist.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little more about that, Danielle?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation today. So I am Danielle Anderson. I am a business strategist and business coach. I've been supporting women entrepreneurs for the past 12 years to grow sustainably without burning out in the process.
Wow. Talking of burnout, there's something I learned from you the last time we met when we were doing the What Women Want, Let's Make Money Honey event.
Yes.
I learned about boundaries. Boundaries, especially when it comes to time with women in business. For someone who's just beginning, how can this look like?
Yeah, boundaries when you're starting out can be quite difficult, right? Because of course you're trying to get your business off the ground. You believe that you have to hustle hard to get things going. And that is true in many ways, especially when you're starting. You have to kind of put all guns blazing, all wood on the fire and try to get things going as much as you can. But if you do that for too long without looking after yourself in the process, you are going to burn out. And burnout can get to a place where your body actually shuts down and says, you cannot function any longer. It's not just, oh, I feel tired. Oh, I wish I could take a break. It's your body might put you in bed and then you can't do anything. So to prevent yourself from getting to that point, boundaries when you're starting might just be about closing your laptop at a certain time every day. Even if that time is 8 o'clock, right? It doesn't have to be 5. Maybe it's still in the evening. Or making sure that you book one day a month where you're completely offline, that you're recharging yourself, that you're fueling yourself, that you're looking after the woman behind the business or the man behind the business, and really just taking that time to recharge, because you can't keep going all the time.
Well, there's this fear of being less likable when you put up these boundaries, or being deemed as you're hard to work with. As a woman, we get that a lot. Like, why would she put up a boundary? Why can't I access her after 8 p.m.? How do we address this? Because it's hard, and we are trying to actually be likable in our businesses.
It's true. And at the same time, I think some of these perceptions that we have aren't actually true. Right?
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe so, just from my experience. So let me give you an example. About 5 years ago, I decided to start putting some boundaries in place in my business. And I know we'll talk about this more later, but started putting some boundaries in place in my business. And one of the boundaries that I put up was around email. So I stopped responding to emails every day, because emails take up so much of our time and so much of our focus. Our first instinct is to check our emails the first thing in the morning. And then immediately you're responding to somebody else's priorities, somebody else's demands, and your whole to-do list goes out the window.
Yeah, that's true.
And you might say, oh, let me just check this email real quick and respond real quick. But real quick is never real quick. The second you distract yourself from whatever it was that you were doing before, you lose your focus. And it can take up to 20 minutes to get back into focus of what you were doing previously. So I put this boundary in place around emails. And what I did to enact this boundary is I put an out of office autoresponder type of message on my email. So as soon as someone would send me an email, they would get a response that said, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. Did you know that the average person wastes 2 hours per day per email wastes 2 hours per day responding to emails? That seems like a ridiculous waste of time. We are a small business over here. We will get back to you within 48 hours. If your email is urgent, please pick up the phone and call us. I never once had someone call to say, I've just sent you an urgent email. Can you please take a look? Instead, what I received was a lot of responses back saying, oh my gosh, I wish I could do this for myself. I wish that I had these boundaries in place. No one was saying Danielle is unlikable or inaccessible or she's being too special or whatever. They were all in admiration that I was putting this boundary in place, and they completely respected it. 5 years on, I still have that boundary on top of many, many others that I've been able to build up over the years. But that was the first one where I had an outside face to say, this is my boundary and this is how I operate. And I didn't get that unlikable, she's hard to work with thing. I think people actually respect you more when you have boundaries.
Because I'm over here thinking, I should do that. Yeah. I should actually do that in my business. And if you're listening, you should do that too. Because people like text you. I just started a business, Elfie's Joyful Finds, making gifts for babies. People will text you at the oddest of hours, call you. And I'm like, my business is 5 months old. Maybe I should just pick up. Maybe this is the one call that, will make it for me. So does that look different when you're just starting out versus, let's say, how long have you been in the business?
12 years.
Yeah, now 12 years. Did it look the same in year one versus now?
No, I mean, I still tried to have some boundaries in business. So back when I first started my business, I had come out of traditional employment. And traditional employment for me wasn't a 9 to 5. It was actually like a 7 to 7. I was working in financial services. So I also had no boundaries in my employment, right? I worked 14-hour days. Pretty standard, right? Yeah. So when I started my business and then I was working from home, I always tried to stop working by the time my partner came home from the office, and he would get home usually by 6:30 and make sure that we were having dinner together. We were spending the evenings together. We were going to bed together. And even if that meant that I was then waking up early in the morning to get some things done before he woke up, I was protecting that time as this is important for our relationship and for our partnership. So I did have some boundaries, but not as many as I have now. What you shared there about, is this the call that's going to make or break it? Yeah. Probably not, right? You think about other shops, like bricks and mortar shops, right? If you had a physical shop, like a grocery store, you have set hours that are on the door, and no one is calling up Nivus at 11 o'clock and be like, hey, can I come and get a loaf of bread? I ran out. They just know that those are the hours and they're not open yet. They have to wait until the morning, or they have to find a 24-hour shop, right? Yeah. So I doubt that you're missing out on that one big thing. If you're worried about not being able to respond to customers in a timely fashion, there are other things, like WhatsApp also has autoresponders if you use WhatsApp Business. Yeah. So you can even share like our business hours are from this to this. We'll get back to you within business hours. Same on Instagram, you can do the same. So I think as long as you're giving them communication of we will respond to you within this time frame, people are much more accepting of that.
I'm thinking, I'm really scared of doing that. Honestly, I'm really scared of losing that business. But you've said if someone really wants that thing, they will wait out. If it's worth it, they'll actually wait out for you.
And it's not like you're asking them to wait a week. You're asking them to wait maybe 6 hours until you wake up in the morning and you start your day properly, right? Yeah. Because what else can you do? And what are you going to do? You're going to jump out of bed and go and make that gift?
Sometimes I really think about it. I'm like, maybe, because I've ever had someone be like texting at 10 p.m. It's like, I need this gift at 7 a.m. I'm like, okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. Then you send them, and like, this is not really what I wanted.
And do they actually buy? Because the other thing I guess to consider is like, track it, right? Use data as an analysis point. If you say, okay, I got 15 messages outside of business hours, and of those 15, one of them actually turned into a sale, that actually shows you that responding to those other 14 was not worth your time and not worth you violating your own boundaries. So use data as a decision-making tool to let you know, like, should I actually be manning the phones, womaning the phones at night?
Yeah. something about you is that you don't work on Fridays.
Yes, I don't work on Fridays.
How did you even get to that? Because I'm like, that's such a fun thing to do. You don't work on Fridays. And everyone knows.
Yeah.
Danielle doesn't work on Fridays.
Everyone knows, yeah. So again, so I started my business in 2013. I was a workaholic for years, right? And didn't have any boundaries in place. These didn't come overnight. They took over me being in business for a long time, me burning out multiple times, me being in bed unable to move because my body like gave up on me with all sorts of weird things happening. And so when COVID happened and I was no longer able to exist in the way that I'd been existing before, which was literally working evenings, working weekends, being on a plane like every 3 weeks, going from one client to another, like traveling everywhere. COVID was like, no, Danielle, it's time for you to sit your butt at home. And I was like, okay, so now what do I do with all this time? Yeah. And it was only because of that blessing in disguise of COVID and curfew and, quarantine and all these things that were happening that I started to deeply look at how I was running my business, how I was spending my time, how I was not honoring any boundaries, how I didn't have any boundaries. And so I decided to start implementing small things. So the first thing that I said to myself is I'm no longer going to work after 7 p.m. Right. And that was my first thing. No longer work after 7 p.m. This is before I had a child. So my time was my time. I could do whatever I wanted with it. No longer work after 7 p.m. That was the first thing that I implemented. And there were some exceptions, of course, like maybe there was something big that was going out, a big project I was working on that I just had to push through. But that was the first thing that I did. Once I got used to that boundary is then when I started to implement the thing around emails. I also started to track my time religiously in 2020. And by that, I mean like every time I was doing a task, I was clocking it on an app called Clockify. And it allowed me to see, one, how my focus was all over the place and therefore I was wasting time. And two, what I was actually spending my time on and if they were the right tasks for my business. When I started to become much more structured in how I spent my time and what I focused on, I was then able to say, okay, what other boundaries do I need? So the next one was then no work on the weekends. I stopped doing work on Saturdays and Sundays. There's no need to do work on Saturdays and Sundays anymore. And then eventually it also became, I don't need to work 5 days a week. I can do all of my work within 4 days and I can just stop working on Fridays because, what tends to happen, especially now with a kid, and thank God I did all this stuff before having a child, because now with a kid, my nanny's not around on the weekends, right? So if I was still working Monday through Friday and my nanny's not around on the weekends, that means I'm also full-time mom on Saturday and Sunday. And I get no time for myself to do anything. So at least now with Fridays off, and even when I was younger and single and didn't have those responsibilities, just taking that time to recharge has been hugely beneficial for me and for my business. And yeah, when people are like, are you available on Friday? I don't say, no, I don't work on Fridays. I just say, no, I'm not available. My next available opportunity is this day. You don't have to justify your boundaries or explain yourself. You just say, I'm available at this time. This is my next availability.
And you've not had someone who convinced you to work on a Friday?
There are times that I will make exceptions, but it means that they are paying me money on that day. That's the only time I make an exception. It's not like, hey, can you send through a proposal? Can you book a coffee chat? Can we meet up for blah, blah, blah? No, like unless you are physically giving me a check or an M-Pesa transaction, I am not leaving the house to go to work somewhere or working at the house,
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
I really wish everyone, some can't, but I wish people understood that actually people can value your time and pay you for it.
Yes.
While still living a good life on the side.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And it's not that it doesn't have to be Fridays or weekends. Like all of our businesses are different, right? Some people have to work on weekends. That's the nature of their business. These guys in events, production, like they don't have the same capability like that. Often you'll find, like, for example, restaurants will be closed on a Monday or a Tuesday because that's their day to rest and recharge. We also, as entrepreneurs, we have to decide what is my day or my days to rest and recharge and to pour back into myself so that I can keep going, because entrepreneurship is no joke. Like, it's demanding, it's exhausting, it's emotional.
Yeah, very.
So we have to take that time to look after ourselves.
Yeah. You just mentioned an app.
Yes, Clockify. Yes.
So this is one way of trying to manage your time. Yeah. What are do you have other tips, mini sprinkle here and there?
Yeah, of course. So I use that app, which is awesome because for me, it keeps me disciplined because I don't want to go to the app and change the task that I'm doing. Right? I actually want to capture what I'm working on. And I've made it very structured in the sense that I can see if it's a a content creation task, if it's a team management task, if it's a finance task, if it's a prospecting task, strategic task. So I can see how is Danielle spending her time. Me as the CEO of my business, I should be spending the majority of my time working on strategy and working with clients. Those should be my two main areas of focus. And by working with clients, I also mean getting clients, right? Like business development, strategy and client work. If I'm spending a ridiculous amount of time doing something like marketing or admin, then I know that I need to either delegate better to the people that are already meant to be doing those tasks, or I need to hire for someone if I don't have that person already, right? So it just makes me a much more effective leader of my business and making sure that I'm spending my time where only Danielle can spend her time. That's number one. Number two is that I block out time for specific things. So I don't take external meetings on Mondays because I feel like if I can sit down at my desk on Monday and actually get the admin, like CEO tasks done, then they're done, because otherwise they get lost in the shuffle of everything else that's going on. So Mondays I spend on doing the content creation that I need to do, because I am also the face of my business. So there are times that I need to do recordings and stuff. Managing my team, so letting them know what they need to be doing during the week and how they can support me. I also use that time to do follow-ups with prospective clients, and I look at finances on Monday. So these are like my CEO tasks on a Monday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days that I dedicate for clients. So that's when I'll hold consultations. That's when I will hold client sessions. That's when I will go to events if possible. Of course, sometimes these things have to fall into different days, but as much as possible, I try to keep Tuesdays and Thursdays for clients. And then on Wednesdays, I also have a significant block of time for strategy. And strategy will change week on week. It will be based on whatever it is that I'm working on at the moment. So for example, this week I'm working on a new offer that I'm putting out there. So yesterday during my strategy block, I was working on developing the sales page for that and putting focus into that, but blocking out 3 hours on a Wednesday for whatever strategic thing I'm working on in the moment. And that has allowed me to make sure that things are getting done, to make sure that my time is protected on the things that are actually going to move my business forward, and to not get overwhelmed in the process of either, right? And again, that might seem like super structured for some people.
Yeah, it is,
I remember when we were talking like, how do you do all these things?
It's like you account for every single hour of your day.
Of my working day, yeah. I do. And again, I started this practice before I had a child. So, I'm just grateful that I did, because it's allowed me to now also be a mother alongside being a CEO and to dip into those roles with the attention that they need as they need it, right? I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
Wow. Have you had a point or a time whereby you need to re-communicate your boundaries with someone or readjust your boundaries because maybe for the last 3 months this isn't working well? How do you personally identify that this boundary is not working, and how can we change it to something that works?
Yeah, so I mean, my boundaries have been pretty solid over the past few years, but I have noticed over the past 2 months that I have been breaking my no Friday rule. So for example, the event that we met at was on a Friday, right?
It was.
I also went to another event 2 weeks later that was also on a Friday. So those are exceptions, right? But then I also found, like looking at my time tracking, that I was doing random stuff on a Friday that wasn't necessarily client related and I wasn't directly getting paid for. I was just working on the business on a Friday. And part of the reason for that is because I had a personal incident that happened earlier in the year that took me away from the business for about a month or 6 weeks, where I wasn't able to put everything into it. And so I felt like May and June and some of July, I was kind of catching up to that. But I've also noticed the impact that that's had on me in terms of my well-being. I'm tired. I don't sleep as well. I feel more stressed out. So this month in August, I'm really trying to get back into that. So it hasn't really been a need of having to shift things so much. It's also just been reminding myself of why things exist and how to keep going with them. And there are times that I do need to recommunicate, especially with new clients, right? Because with new clients all the time, they don't necessarily know that I don't work on a Friday. But I do let them know upfront when we're working together, hey, you can contact me, depending on the package that they're in. Some of them aren't, they don't get ongoing support in between sessions. They just get sessions, and that's when we meet. Others, they pay for in-between support. And they know, if you're going to contact me on WhatsApp, my response will not be instant. I will get back to you as soon as I can within the business day. If you send me an email, I will get back to you within 2 business days. So they know what to expect. And they also know that I'm not available on Fridays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I like how you manage the expectations right at the...
You have to. That's the key, is managing everyone's expectations.
So that they know I don't do this and I don't do it it's just how I work.
Not even just in work, right? This is the same for personal boundaries as well. Like you need to, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, like you need to manage your boundaries at home so that people at home know how to support you so that you can run your business if you're working from home, or even if you're going out from the house, right? Like I remember having to have a conversation with my nanny at one point because I primarily work from my home office, but my home office is in the apartment with the rest of the house, right? And there was times maybe about a year ago where she would just allow my son to come and kind of knock on my door or like barge into my office or just make a bunch of noise. And I was like, or even in the morning when she would come, just dilly-dallying, taking forever to kind of like take over. And I just had to sit with her and say, look, if I were physically leaving the house to go to work, this wouldn't be the case. You would not be acting like this. My son would not be conditioned to think that he can just go and barge into the office. Like I would be physically leaving the house. We are in a beautiful situation where I don't have to physically leave the house and I can tap in and out a little bit during the day and reconnect and have lunch together or tea together. But when the door is closed, the door is closed. When I say I need to go into the office, I need to go now, not in 25 minutes or 30 minutes. If I say I have a call now. So you need to come in and take over. So also communicating those boundaries with your people at home, whether that's your partner or your home support, so that they know also what they need to be doing to support you. And I made it very clear to her, I was like, I work so that I can pay you, and so that I can put food on the table and I can provide for my child and I can, send your kids to school. Also, like if I don't work, then none of us eat, So I think that reminder sometimes to the people that are supporting us is also important.
Wow.
And then holding on to those boundaries too, right? Because if then they come and knock on the door and I open the door for them, then they're not going to keep that boundary anymore either.
I tried that actually when we talked, was it last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago? I tried that because I work from home. Then I was like, take the baby away. Then the baby was crying. I was like, you can do this. I had to talk to myself.
Yes.
You can do it. Yes. She won't cry forever. She will cry for 5 minutes to get over it. So I really tried and it worked. Yeah, I got a full working day.
Amazing.
Thank you, Danielle.
That
actually really worked and I love it. Yeah. Now, I'm such a people pleaser.
The truth is coming out.
Oh my goodness. Running a business as a people pleaser, I'm finding it really hard to hold those boundaries down because I'll be like, they really need me at this point. And how would you advise me to get over this?
I am not a people pleaser. I think I'm probably like a people.
I don't know what's the opposite of a people pleaser.
I don't know what the opposite word is, but I genuinely don't care what people have to say about me. Like if they don't like how I operate, then cool, go somewhere else. Like I do not care because I believe that if someone is going to make my job difficult, they are not the client for me because there's plenty of other clients out there who will be perfect for me and who will respect my boundaries, who will respect my expertise, who won't be asking me for discounts or to work late at night or to come in on the weekends. Like there are people that are out there that are my ideal client. And I know it's hard to see especially when you're starting out. I get that. I know that I'm in a position like, 10 years later than you are. And that makes a big difference. But I don't think I've ever been a people pleaser. But that doesn't mean that I don't have other things that I also have to work on for myself as an individual. So I think the thing that I would say, and for all of you that are listening, is like, try to understand yourself, know who you are as a person, whether that's through going to therapy or doing self-help books or personal development books. Like try to understand who you are and where that has come from, because you do not have to be the same person for the rest of your life. You can make a decision like, I don't want to be a people pleaser anymore. And it will be a hard decision because it's something you're used to, but you just start to flex that muscle, right? You learn to say no a bit. You say no once and then you practice it. And then you say no again and then you practice it. And that makes that people-pleasing muscle weaker and the assertive Anita muscle stronger. Yeah. And when you start to see the benefits of the alternative, it can be easier to shift into that direction. We don't have to remain the same forever.
That's true. People grow. When you grow, you change.
Exactly. When you grow, you change. And the woman that you are now is not going to be the woman that you are 10 years from now. And when I think back to my corporate life, was I a people pleaser then? Maybe because I would work hours, but that was just what was expected in that industry. But within my job, I wasn't a people pleaser. I used to make people mad all the time. And I was like, okay, cool, be mad, Yeah, be mad.
But don't get the job done.
Yeah, exactly. I get the job done. People respected me for the work that I was doing. And that was great, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
but at the very heart of Stepping Stone is strategy for every business.
Yes.
Why do you feel like strategy is not, I don't even think you feel, you know that strategy is one of the key things to have in business.
Yeah.
And how do you identify when someone is just running a business without a
On
strategy?
vibes.
Yes, on vibes.
Hopes and vibes. So strategy is my passion. I think I've been in love with strategy since I was a teenager, just like figuring out how businesses work, pulling the pieces together, making things happen. And even in my corporate space, I was in that realm. And then as a business owner myself and supporting entrepreneurs for the past 12 years, that's the area that I focus on. So I can very easily see if you don't have a strategy, because you are offering a million different things to a million different people. You are not clear about the value that you offer to your client or why they should buy from you. Your pricing is all over the place, or you're just like guessing on the spot and like making things up as you go. You're not clear in your communication. You don't know how to express whether it's a product or service. You don't really know how to express what it is that you sell. You don't have any sort of structure in your not only in your days, but in your months or in your goals and where you're trying to get to. It's very clear when a business doesn't have strategy, because they are just kind of all over the place, scattered and flipping their ideas all the time. Like they get a new idea and they run after it straight away. And it's not a bad thing to have ideas, but you can't execute everything at once. And when you try to, you're not very successful at it. And it takes longer to get to where you want to go. So strategy for me is super important for business owners to just be, one, very clear about what are your goals for, even just for this year. What is it that you want to achieve? Is it a revenue number? Is it a client number? Is it an expansion number? Like, what is it that you want to do this year? And don't go overboard with trying to do a million things, because you cannot physically do all of those things. So be clear about what the top priorities are, and then make a plan of how you're going to get there. So if you say that you want to have, I don't know, 1 million shillings by the end of the year, what does that mean month on month, right? That's at least 100,000 for 10 months of the year. And then maybe you have 2 slow months, because we all have cycles in our business where we're not going to have that money, but then you want to make up for it in the other months where you do have that money. So if your monthly target is 100,000, what do you need to sell to hit 100,000, right? How many gift packages do you need to sell to hit 100,000 at profit, right? Because this is after all of your costs. Is that number realistic based on the prices that you currently have? Yes or no? If it's not, then you probably have to adjust your pricing, or you have to adjust your revenue targets, because you're not going to be able to get there. So once you have strategy, all of your decisions and why you do things become so much clearer, and it helps to keep you focused. So please have a strategy. If you don't have one already, we should talk after, but have a strategy. It really helps.
I am booking you after.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm looking at you, I'm like,
Yeah, it really,
and you're here teaching other women, you should be on the front line learning about this. So how can you tell when someone is being productive in their business or just busy?
Awesome question. I think we are often just busy, right? Because we are often just busy, especially if you don't have a strategy. You are just working on things, or you're putting out fires, or you're answering a client query at 10 o'clock at night. Like, you're busy.
Danielle, you didn't have to attack me like that.
You're busy. You have all the hours. You're clocking the hours, but you're not seeing the results that you want. That's the difference, right? If you are busy, it's like the 80-20 rule, where 20% of your efforts make up 80% of your results, meaning the other 80% of your efforts are making up 20% of your results. So you have to figure out, what are the 20% of efforts that I need to be focusing on? Those are the ones that you're productive. Those are the ones that are going to get you results. But many times entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out and they're on their own, or even just a small team, they focus on the 80%. They chase it. They build a website. They work on their branding. They get a sexy logo. They change their colors. They're on Instagram all the time, which is fine because it's a marketing tool, but you need to have a strategy around how you're using social media for marketing, and not just be there posting for the sake of posting, right? So really identifying, what are the 20% of activities I need to be doing that are going to get me 80% of my results, and then focusing your efforts there. Remember how I told you how I structure my weeks. The things that I focus on are the things that bring money into the business, that build up my client pipeline, that increase revenues, etc. The other things, yes, they might still need to be done in business, but it doesn't necessarily need to be you that does them. Hire support.
Hire
It's support.
Difficult at the beginning to hire someone, because you don't even know. First of all, you don't even know who exactly do I need at this point.
True.
So where do I start? I'm just my business is 5 months old. I need to hire someone, but I don't know. Who am I? Am I hiring marketing? Am I hiring social media? Am I hiring,
Yeah.
So where do I start?
You're right. I mean, especially in the beginning, it's very common for the founder to be everyone, right? You are the marketer, you are the accountant, you are the strategist, you are everyone, right? And that can be very challenging. But at least if you're working still with someone like me who tells you this is what your strategy is, then you at least know what you need to execute. Then you can start to hire like slowly, right? So again, going back to time tracking, if you find that you're spending the majority of time on marketing and marketing is not your passion, your expertise, your strength, then that's probably the first person that you should be hiring for, because that person is not only going to take all of those tasks off your plate, they're going to do it better than you. Right. So it's about being honest with yourself of like, what are my strengths and weaknesses? And rather than trying to always fix your weaknesses, you lean into your strengths more and you get other people to fix your weaknesses because they're now doing something that they're super good at, right? And then of course it's about ROI, return on investment. You know, whatever it is that you're paying to that person, is it worth the task that they're taking away from you? So so we talked about a few weeks ago, you may be taking on an assistant who helps with, for example, packaging your gifts, right? And we worked out you would need to sell a certain number of gifts to make her salary worthwhile. And it makes sense. Like it was a very small number, right? And so that's also the case for any of the hires that you make. Like the amount of money that you're paying to that marketing person, is that now bringing business in worth the same value of what you're paying to that person? If not, what needs to change, right? So being very clear about what their targets are also.
I think it was yesterday or the day before, you posted something about the skills that got you here will not be able to make you scale up, will not scale you up.
Yes.
At what point of the business do you actually realize I need more skill set on the team? I need, we are here now. I can't do this all alone.
Yes.
I found that really fascinating. I was like, wait a minute. So I actually, tell me about that.
I think it's important to understand how your business works and all of those different pieces, because then it becomes very easy, not only to delegate, but also to supervise and make sure that people are doing things to the standard that you want. So in the beginning, it is helpful for you to understand how your marketing works, for you to understand your numbers, and you should always understand your numbers, even if you have an accountant, know your numbers, because then you don't get surprises, right? You should understand how you want your customer journey to look like, how you want your customer experience to be. You should design those things. But again, you shouldn't necessarily be the one that's always executing them, right? So the sooner that you can bring people on board to support you, the better, right? And there isn't no right or wrong time, because often it's like, do I have the money to support that person? But the sooner that you can bring people on, especially to cover for your weaknesses, the faster your business is going to get the results that you're looking for. Yeah. I mean, even for me, I hired a marketing coach when I was like 2 months into business, because marketing was something I had no idea about. I came from a financial services background. I had worked in strategy my entire career, and I knew nothing about how do I talk about my business. I could talk about projects and I could communicate with people, but I didn't know how to talk about business in a way that was like sexy for a potential client.
For someone to come.
So I immediately hired a marketing coach, and I remember I was in the UK at the time. I spent £900 on this coach. So it was like £300 a month, which is like $500, like 60,000 shillings. And
that's a lot of money.
I didn't have the money. I didn't have it, but I had to. I didn't have it in the sense like the money was there, but I didn't think I should be spending that money because I didn't have money coming in consistently yet. But I took the leap. I invested in her. I worked with her for 3 months, and she really helped me to get myself out there, to start talking about my business, to give me the framework for now me to go and start speaking to potential customers, which in turn then brought people in the door, right? So it was a super important investment that I made very early on, and I have no regrets about doing it because that money came back, right? And at other pivotal points in my journey, I've done the same thing. Even now, I have 2 teams that I've invested in that I don't really feel like I have the money for it, but I believe that it's going to turn into the results that I want it to. And so sometimes we have to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Talking of money.
Yeah.
There's something with women and money and pricing our products. There's this thin line between it's too expensive and it's worth it.
Yes.
How do we know if it's too expensive as a business person? Because you want to get worth for what you're putting out.
Yeah.
But people will tell you, this is too much. We can't pay that.
They will tell you it's too much regardless of what price you put it at.
Really?
Look at your friend in this Airbnb, and you told me even if she drops her price, people don't come here.
Yeah.
So look at your friend. She has this Airbnb. We were just talking about this earlier this morning, right? And you told me she's dropped the price of her Airbnb because there's so much competition out there.
Yeah,
and even though she's dropped her price, she's still not getting customers because there's still so much competition out there.
A lot.
So regardless of what you price yourself at, someone is always going to turn to you and say, that's too expensive. And you just have to say, Sawa, go somewhere else. Like, go to the cheaper person, right? And you need to be able to position yourself. Yeah, no, I get that. But then for you and your business, think about, how do I accommodate people? So rather than devaluing your work, you can work within someone's budget, but you don't give them the 5,000 shilling package if they're only going to pay you 2,000 shillings. You don't give them the 12,000 shilling package if they're only going to pay you 6,000 shillings. You say, Sawa, this is what I can give you for your budget, right?
Yeah.
And if they still come back and say that's too expensive, then you just say, okay, Pole, like there's other places out there that I'm sure you can find what you're looking for, and don't devalue yourself, right? If you were trying to provide a premium service, a premium package, a premium gift curation product, then price yourself for that, because there are people out there that are going to pay what it is that you want them to pay.
That's true.
There's money in this city,
there is.
right? And people are still going out and partying. They're still going to the coast on holidays. They are still going out to restaurants and eating with their girlfriends. They are still going to bottomless brunches. Like, they are still spending their money. So what I like to tell my clients is, like, your client's money is actually none of your business. Like, what they can and can't afford is none of your business. Like, you just put your money, you put your prices out there. Yeah, your client's money is none of your business. You put your price there, and if they can't afford it, like, I'm sure you can find something else. Like, this is what we offer. And to make sure that all of your positioning supports the people that you want to be working with, right? So that you are calling in the right types of clients. You are bringing in people that value beauty, aesthetics, customer service, experience, all the things that you want to put into that package of delivery. You're calling in the people that value that, and you stop talking to clients that don't want what you offer. You don't have to cater to everyone.
Oh, that's true. I try to convince myself every day. I'm like, this is not my target market. I have a target market, and I'm working towards that.
Yes.
And that is all I need for now.
That's all you need for now.
It might take me a little bit longer, but I will surely get there.
Because you don't want to dilute your brand either, right? If you start offering cheap things, then people are going to just come to you for cheap things, and you don't want to be a cheap things person.
And when you give it once, the next person will want the same.
Yeah.
Because you sell to your friend, they'll be like, no, but she sold that to me at this price. Why are you telling me? Yeah, so
exactly.
We are working on that together. Yes. Thank you, Danielle.
Yes, you're welcome.
What does a simple but solid business strategy look like?
I think it's kind of how I shared earlier, like really just thinking about, what is it that you want to achieve this year? What are your top maybe 3 goals? For me, I will identify at the beginning of the year what my top goals are, and then every quarter I'll revisit them. So am I still on track for what it is that I'm trying to achieve? And then breaking that down into manageable pieces. So for example, like I said, if you have a revenue goal for this year, what does that look like month on month? If you know that August is a super slow month for you, and that's maybe going to be a write-off for revenue, what month might you pick that up? Maybe December for your business, where people are doing a lot of gift giving, right? So really thinking about, how does that plan out throughout the year? And then what actions do you need to be taking in order to support that? So if your goal is 100,000 a month, what do you need to be doing every day, every week, every month in order to get you closer to that, right? And it's probably around marketing. It's probably around picking up the phone and talking to even past customers and seeing what they need, building relationships, getting your name out there. There are specific activities that you need to now focus on to get you to that goal that you want. So that's a very simple, high-level strategy. For every business, it's going to be different, especially depending on the age of your business and how many people you have within your team. You might be trying to expand. You might be preparing for a transition or an exit. Everyone has different goals in mind, but it's about just being very clear about what those are and why they're important. Not just saying, oh, I want to make $1 million. Why do you want to make $1 million? I want to make $1 million.
Get the money.
But what do you want to do with that money, right? Like, go beyond that. It's not just about having the money. Like, I want $1 million because I want to be able to take my daughter on holiday.
Yeah.
I want to be able to send my kids to this particular school and the fees cost this much. I want to be able to look presentable, not even presentable. I want to love my clothes, right?
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life. And to enjoy my life, these are the things that I feel are enjoyable to me. Maybe it's going for a massage. Maybe it's getting your nails done. Maybe it's getting makeup every now and again. Whatever it is, like whatever it is that makes you satisfied and happy with your life, those are the things that you want the money for. So it's not just about the number that's on the paper. It's all the things that money allows you to do, which you should also be thinking about as you're setting your goals, right? Why is it important
to me?
Why is it important to you? Yeah.
Wow, I feel like we've done quite a good session. So I'm wrapping up with some quick fire questions for you.
All right, I'm ready, I think.
You're ready?
I hope so.
Okay. What's one non-negotiable in your day?
One non-negotiable in my day, coffee.
Really? If you run out of coffee, what happens?
It's not even running out. Like I have to have coffee in the morning. But I guess another non-negotiable for me is working out. Yeah. Like
nice.
taking time for myself. So whether that's like a workout or going for a walk or reading a book for a little while, just taking a little bit of time. So I'm not just working and then going straight back into motherhood, like some sort of breathing space. That's a non-negotiable.
Again, I'm stealing that.
Yeah. It's important.
What's the most overrated business advice?
The most overrated business advice is that if you wake up at 5 a.m., you can be more productive.
But they say there's someone who said, I heard this on TikTok, 1 hour in the morning is like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like,
so I used to be part of the 5 a.m. club. I bought into that book. I drank that Kool-Aid and I fully believed in it when I didn't have a child. Because if I wake up, even now, if I were to wake up at 5 a.m., my son will wake up with me.
Yeah.
Right? It is not going to be a productive hour in the morning. It is just going to be an extra hour that I have to give my full attention to him. And the length of time between waking up and his nanny arriving is longer, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to I won't be productive at that time, right? Instead, what I think is better business advice is understanding your own cadence of the day. Some of us work a lot better in the morning and some of us do work a lot better in the afternoon or in the evening. Like we just have different body rhythms. Understanding your own cadence and working to that as a strength. So for me, that still means like the first 2 hours of my working day, which now starts at 9:30 rather than at 7.
Yeah.
The first 2 hours of my working day are still on very focused work. I try not to jump straight onto calls. I try not to have a meeting first thing in the morning because I need to kind of ramp up my day and have that protected time. So figure out what that looks like for you and just protect the time and be focused during that time rather than feeling like it has to be at 5 in the morning. Because if you get up at 5 and you're still working until 9, that's not helping you at all. That's just making you more tired, right? Yeah.
And agitated.
So I think that's one of them.
Yeah. What's a book that changed your view of success?
Ooh, that changed my view of success. I don't think I have one, but I do have a book that's changed my view of that on just individuality. And I think it's helpful. So I read a book a few years ago by Joe Dispenza, which is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And what he talks about in this book is the concept of neuroplasticity, which basically means that you can rewire the way that your brain works. So we are conditioned into being people pleasers. We are conditioned into being pushovers. We are conditioned into being assertive or mean or a certain way. Your personality is formed over all of these years of your life. But just because your personality has always been a certain way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. And we're always taught the opposite. We believe that a person can never change, especially the older that we get. They're stuck in their ways. They're always going to be that way. There's no changing them. But it's not true. Instead, what Joe Dispenza says as a neuroscientist is that we can rewire the pathways of our brain to stop behaving in the same way over and over and over again and stop replicating these patterns. So using you as an example, because you share that you're a people pleaser, he teaches you how to stop being a people pleaser. So in the moment when you're about to please someone and you know that you don't really want to be doing it, you stop yourself. You in your brain, you say, change, stop. Like you just stop that pattern from continuing, because what he says is that pathways that no longer fire together, no longer wire together, meaning that if you break that that pathway, eventually that pathway isn't going to exist anymore and you're going to create a different one. So this is the book that really changed my thinking on who I am as a person. I've gone through the exercises, the meditations that are in it to really rewire some of my default things, because I'm not a people pleaser, but I'm prone to be anxious about stuff. Like I don't always trust in the universe giving me abundance and giving me all the things that I desire and deserve. So we all have something within us. So really try to learn who you are and break the things that aren't working for you, because you don't have to be that person anymore.
Wow.
And I guess that does lean into success, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking for that book immediately. Vanessa, get on it. I need a copy. A sip.
Yeah.
All right. So, as a final, actually, there's something I really wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
why
sure.
Stepping Stone? That's such an interesting name.
I actually hate
and very
the name
memorable.
of my business. I hate the name of my business. So,
Really?
Yeah, not hate. I just don't love it.
Love it as much.
But I've had it for so long that I'm just kind of used to it. So back when I was starting my business back in 2013, early 2013, I was like every founder. I'm like, what am I going to call it? Like, what do I call this business? What do I want to be known as? And it is such a difficult question.
Yeah,
and it's one that we spend so much time agonizing over. And I failed at it. I was like, I literally have no idea. So at the time, I actually was volunteering some time with a tech startup. And the woman that was running this tech startup was previously from a branding and communications background. So as a thank you to me for volunteering some time to her business, she's like, I'm going to do a branding session for you. And I was like, cool. So she's the one that came up with that name. Oh. And I was so excited when she told me she was going to do this session, because I was like, she's going to come up with something super sexy. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to love it. And then she shows me and I'm like, really? That's it? But I was just like, okay, cool. Like, what does it matter, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. And now 12 years into business, and her rationale for that name made sense. Her rationale was like, because I was working primarily with early stage business owners when I was first going. That has evolved over time. But she's like, you're building solid foundations for your business one step at a time. So foundations are made from stone and step and stone. So it kind of makes sense. And I was like, okay, we'll go with it. But I've never loved that name. I've never been like, I'm excited to tell people what that is, but it's just what it's called. So that's what our URL is. That's what my Instagram handle is. That's what I'm known as. But one day maybe it won't be like that anymore.
Do you know, I had that name once, I think there at What Women Want, and it just stuck because I'm like, it's what you do. You're helping us step up and create solid foundation.
It's true.
So
it's true. Like the rationale makes total sense. I've just never been like, oh my God, I love my business name, you know, but I just not also let it hinder me. The other challenge with that name is that it's a kind of a play on words, right? Because when I say it, people are like, oh, stepping stone, you know, ing. And I'm like, no. And that's why I'm like, step and stone. I have to be very careful about how I enunciate those words, which is frustrating, you know, but it works. It's okay.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, Danielle, if there's a woman who's in the middle of the gutter, who is like, I'm burnt out, I don't know what to do, what's just one thing you'd like them to hear from you?
Okay, for a woman who's in the gutter right at this moment and who is dying to step out and to do something different, just take a day off to start with. Like just take one day off. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Go get your nails done. Go for a massage. Go read a book. Do something that you love. Go for a walk in the forest. Nothing that has to cost you a lot of money, but just look after yourself for a full day without the pressure of business, without the pressure of goals and expectations. Just look after yourself as a starting point and then start to put some structure in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Danielle, for having me. Again. She's Stepping Stone. She doesn't like the name, but
that's what I am. So.
And Stone. And I love it. Thank you so much, Danielle,
for having me. Thank you also. It's been amazing.
Did I just say for having me, for coming onto my show.
Thanks for coming onto my show. Yeah, welcome.
I can't wait to see you again.
And I'm glad that we got the memo.
I love it. Yeah, so thank you. So bye, guys.
Bye,
Till
everybody.
next time, don't forget to comment and share this with a friend. Danielle has given us gems that ideally we should pay for, but she did it for free. So thank you so much. And bye, guys. Till next time. Mwah. All right. And we are done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
You answered
you.
all the questions.